Good to see you. Thank you so much, Carl, for that very nice introduction. And it's a great pleasure to be here with you today to visit with the Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce. And what a great crowd you have this morning. I see so many familiar faces in the crowd. And Carl, I want to thank you for your leadership. I was reading through some of your background information from your work on the Presbyterian Health Foundation, the Maps for Kids Trust, to, of course, being with one of the best real estate firms in the city and the state and development companies. So thank you for your time and your commitment to this great organization and your leadership. I know it requires a lot of time and effort on your part, so we appreciate you. And it's good to see so many other folks here too. And Kristen, what a fun story about your children. You're raising your children well. We're glad about all that. I see. What can I tell you to go tell your son? Why don't you tell your son that the governor told you to tell him that I'm doing everything I can to build Oklahoma's economy so that it becomes stronger, so that maybe we can get something like a Harry Potter amusement park in Oklahoma. But for right now, why don't he head down to Frontier City? I know it's not the same, but Whitewater's good too, you know. But do tell him I got a Thunder basketball team that's pretty good he might enjoy. And we were talking about that, and Kristen just moved here a couple of years ago, and so it's fun to see all the new people that have moved to Oklahoma City and the Edmond area to be with us. And I want to say to our elected officials that are here, and I see so many of them, the Lieutenant Governor, our Senate Appropriations Chair there, Clark Jolly, Senator Jolly, and I think is Dave Lopez here somewhere? Don't know if he made it or not. And I know we have many other elected officials. I see your new corporation commissioner that I sold from Edmond. Good to see you here. But so many of you, representatives, senators, thank you for coming this morning too. And I want to say to President Mike O'Neill, and here at Oklahoma Christian University, thank you for a job well done in building a fine higher education institution here. And John, welcome to you. We'll be excited to be able to work with you and carry on the great tradition that John has started here. You know, we are very fortunate to have a strong Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce, and you have done such a great job in working with the business community to create the right business atmosphere. And I think you made mention that about being open for business, and that has been one of my major themes, is sending the signal that Oklahoma City, Edmond is ready and open for business. And your chamber members work so hard. I was looking through your legislative agenda, making sure I had all those things kind of checked off on my agenda, which we do. And we have very similar goals, and it really helps me when I have a strong business community, leadership in the community that helps talk to our other elected officials, talks within our various chambers of commerce and just communities throughout the state about how we can help Oklahoma be more prosperous, how we can grow the economy. And so I want to say thank you to the Chamber for all that you do and working with our legislators that are here today and other elected officials. And it's working. It's paying off. I was checking on some current statistics about Oklahoma City, and I found kind of an interesting one in particular, and I know we're up on the edge. I think it's kind of fun. We're kind of on the edge of Edmond, but we're having the Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce banquet. So it's good everybody can work together here. But I was checking on some numbers and some information about Oklahoma City in particular in the metropolitan area. But the Urban Institute had a report recently where they ranked the top largest 100 metropolitan areas in the nation, and they looked at different factors that related to urban security, related to unemployment, housing prices, even the homeowners that were having trouble making their mortgage payments. And when they analyzed the top metropolitan areas in the nation, Oklahoma City ranked number 1 in those great economic factors. And having the best in the country when it came to security, economic security. So that's a great factor. In fact, it had one of the top housing markets in the nation. We all know there's several companies we're going to recognize, I think, next week that are the best places in America to work that are in the Oklahoma City metropolitan area. And of course, if you look at just the way the city, the urban areas such as Edmond, I don't want to leave out Edmond, have grown, and the investment that's coming to our major metropolitan area, it's just incredible. It's remarkable. It's so fun to drive into Oklahoma City and be on the major interstates or even to fly in and see the big Devon Tower going up. I mean, it's kind of the marker that you see, that you know when you're coming into the city, and to see how well the Thunder team has done, all the development, the housing. I love telling the story when I go out of state and people ask me how our state's doing, and of course I always ask about Oklahoma City, and I talk to them about all the housing downtown and how so many of our young folks, even our older folks like me, are wanting to live downtown, and just the development, the investment that's going on, and especially with our major oil companies. We are certainly very appreciative of how well they're doing and building up Oklahoma City. But it's just an exciting time to be in Oklahoma and to see the tremendous growth. And a lot of that growth in the metropolitan area has come because of the Chamber having a great agenda, working very hard, being aggressive, whether it's the streetscape projects, Project 180, I think is the name of it. And that's all, by the way, good news. Even though the streets are torn up, that's progress to me. I know it's a hassle. And the I-40 crosstown. I-40 crosstown coming down, the new boulevard that will be opening up, hopefully take a couple of years, but it's going to be a great time for the city. So I'm excited about all that. And as you have heard me say many, many times, my number one priority is focusing on jobs, job growth, and the economy, and doing everything we can to create the best business climate possible for our state. This past legislative session, and I want to thank the legislators and give them credit for this, because without their help, their vision, their buying into the agenda, per se, on job growth, we wouldn't have been able to accomplish the great things that we did last year. As I've been in office, I know for many years people have told me that they needed the capital to address some of the business concerns of the state, whether it was lowering our workers' compensation premium costs, which we did, and we've seen already a $30 million reduction in that. We have more reforms that will kick into place this spring. In fact, I'll have the opportunity to appoint 4 new judges, conservative judges, to the workers' compensation court system itself. And then, of course, the major lawsuit reform that we did, some of the strongest in the nation. We got written up as a state by being very aggressive, passing meaningful lawsuit reform, which will help certainly our business climate, to balancing a budget deficit, closing a budget gap of $500 million last year, prioritizing our spending on education, law enforcement, health, public services, transportation, those type of things, and even cutting our income tax last year by 0.25%. Now, you may think that's not a big deal, but it was a big deal when I went to Chicago last year and was talking to some of their major Fortune 500 companies when their governor had raised corporate income taxes. And I was there telling them, you know, we had a budget shortfall too, but we actually balanced our budget, prioritized our spending, and cut our income tax. I had a reporter ask me while I was there in Chicago, he said, "Are you here poaching business?" And I said, "Yes." Basically, that's basically what I'm doing here. But I said, if your governor wants to increase taxes, that's fine. It's all fair play. But anyway, it's been a great story to be able to tell about the accomplishments that we've worked hard to do, and there's certainly a lot more work to do for the state of Oklahoma, but we've made some great progress. And because of that, we're seeing the results. And I'm a results-oriented person. If we're going to do something, I want to measure it. I want to make sure it's working. And I don't want to waste our time on things that won't help grow Oklahoma's economy. And so if you look at how Oklahoma's doing right now, in the year 2011, this past year, we actually added 41,600 net jobs. Now, for our size of a population, that's a large job growth. And to put that into perspective, after the economic downturn of 2008, Oklahoma lost 80,000 jobs. And so we've almost made up all the jobs that we had lost during that time. And last year, Oklahoma grew. This is one of the figures I like because I know the lieutenant governor likes to mention Texas. We always like to beat him in something other than football. We're starting to do that, Lieutenant Governor, as he knows. But last year, our economy, our job market growth grew 42% faster than Texas did in job growth. And when you look at Oklahoma in our manufacturing sectors, I mean, we certainly love oil and gas. We appreciate our energy sector, but we're doing well in other sectors, which is important. We all know how important it is to have a diversified economy. But Oklahoma's manufacturing sector per population grew 2.5 times better than Texas, again, Lieutenant Governor, and 5 times better than the national average in manufacturing jobs. Oklahoma, that's our state. It's exciting. And you look at our unemployment rate, our unemployment rate has been considered one of the lowest in the country at 6.1%. At one time, it was down to 5.6% last year. That's good news. And of course, if you check the papers this morning, looking at revenue growth, and I know Treasurer Ken Miller is here, we're having some great revenue growth in our state. In fact, when we looked at the sales tax collection, which can be a measurement of consumer confidence of our economy itself, the sales tax collection this past month was the best in our state's history in collections. And it was 12% up over this same month last year, 12% more. And so all that means is that I think we've seen the economic rebound that many states have been slow to be able to recover from. There are still states that have huge housing problems. Our housing market has held up better than a lot of the states. We've only had 2 bank failures in 20 years in the state of Oklahoma because our banking institutions do much better than what other states do. And we're still working on creating that better business climate possible. Another little interesting fact about Oklahoma is that we're actually seeing people move to our state, coming back. Kristen moved here. I can't tell you, I was at the State Chamber of Commerce banquet the other night, and I was talking about people migrating back to Oklahoma, and I had 5 people come up to me after my speech and said, I just moved to Oklahoma. You're right, I just moved here. Tell me all the different companies that they were with, what states they were from. But it's interesting that we're ranked 8th in the nation in people moving to Oklahoma from other states. And guess where they're coming from? California, Texas, believe it or not. We had over 5,000 people move to Oklahoma last year from Texas, from Kansas, from Florida. I mean, people are moving here from other states. And so yesterday I had a phone call from Reuters News, and they wanted to talk to me because I had mentioned the grapes of wrath in my State of the State speech over a week ago. And so this reporter said, you know, it's kind of caught the attention nationally that you're talking about Oklahoma and people migrating back to the state, and why is that happening, and tell us a little bit about that. And of course, one of the reasons I told them that people are moving to Oklahoma is that it's a great quality of life, it's a lower cost of living, we've got great revenue growth, our economy is rebounding a little quicker, housing market's stable, unemployment rates are low, we got major companies adding employees, employers, and certainly the energy sector is booming in our state. And so I said, we are experiencing the reverse grapes of wrath. And then I said, and I want you to coin this other new phrase that someone actually told me the other day. I met a gentleman who had moved to Oklahoma just 2 weeks ago from Boeing Company out of Long Beach. And he said, my friends are asking me, why are you going to go ahead and make the transfer to Oklahoma City from California? Why are you going from the Silicon Valley to Oklahoma City? And he said, well, I'm not going from the Silicon Valley to Oklahoma City. He said, I'm going from the Silicon Valley to the Silicon Prairie. So that's our new word that I'm using, because if you think about it, I mean, the bio research that we have, biotechnical research we have, from aviation to our work on UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, to our energy companies that are producing jobs all across the nation. I mean, we're producing jobs in Ohio and Pennsylvania, North Dakota, as the commissioner knows, all the drilling, the fracking, the new technology that our energy sector is bringing to the energy market, and how it's bringing up production that we never thought would be possible. That's the Silicon Prairie. And it's Oklahoma companies that are providing those jobs and helping to grow our national economy. So it's an exciting time. So our job today is, what do we do from here? How do we keep the momentum going? How do we keep building upon our successes? How do we move forward? One of the issues that I have identified and have highlighted as a major goal of mine and my administration this year is to continue on making Oklahoma more business friendly and more competitive. And one of the areas that I think we can be more competitive relates to our taxes and our tax structure, and how we as a state should work towards simplifying our tax code. You probably heard me say in our State of the State speech that we have 7 different tax brackets. We actually start taxing the first penny a person makes in Oklahoma from $0 to $1,000. If you make income, you actually pay 0.5% on your income that you earn. People don't really realize that, but it does, and it graduates on up depending upon how much you make in money. And so I've talked about how we should reduce our income tax back down to 3 different tax brackets, and actually giving a tax cut to all 3 tax brackets, wherever those people might fall in to the income tax structure itself. Reducing taxes and having taxes at 0% for couples making 0 to 30,000, from 30,000 to 70,000, to 2.5%, from 70,000 on up, 3.5%, down from 5.25%. We're at 5.25 right now, so basically you're cutting it in half or cutting it to 0 for those who are lower income, and certainly helping the middle class in this area, which is my goal, is helping the middle class and those who are lower income, while making it more attractive for all people of all income levels in our state, doing it in a responsible manner, and that we don't starve state government. I don't want to starve state government. I hear all the different agencies that come to me needing more funding. But to do it in a way that we could look at reducing our taxes in 3 ways, basically, by looking at our carve-outs, our loopholes, our different tax incentives, our different tax structures, and getting rid of some of those in exchange for lower taxes, which I think would make us more competitive. If you look at the states that did the best during the economic downturn of 2008 and have recovered the fastest during that time period, is the states that have either no income tax or a lower income tax. They have grown the most in job growth, almost double what states that had higher taxes, and they certainly had the quickest recovery during that time period than states that had the high income taxes. So we know by modeling, by economic models, and you've had speakers come and talk to you, that the lower your income tax, but also providing, like I said, for essential governmental services will help make us more competitive as a state. And so I've asked the legislature to work with me. I know that I won't get 100% of my plan, but that's what the legislative process is about. You give, you take, you talk, you come up with that right mixture, and I think we got good momentum this year and going forward to working towards making Oklahoma more income tax friendly in our state. I also talked about several other issues that I thought were important for Oklahoma, and I know this is on the Chamber of Commerce agenda, and that is our workforce. I still meet people in the business world that tell me they can't find the workers they need. And I still meet people who tell me they can't find a job. And so we've been working through the Department of Commerce to have a website, you heard me announce, that is okjobmatch.com, to help connect those who need employees in a certain area and those employees looking for jobs, to work with our colleges and our universities, our career techs, to make sure that people are finishing whatever subject matter they may be in, whatever school they might be in, whether it's finishing high school, whether it's going on to get a career technical skill certificate, or whether it's entering into our higher education universities and completing. You've seen some of the stories recently that we have a lot of Oklahomans that start in higher education and don't finish. But if we could take all those people, and there's adults like myself, I started at UCO on my MBA many years ago, right out of college, working full-time, went to night school, took about 30 hours towards my MBA, but I didn't finish. So guess what they're trying to get me to do now? I'm serious. They came up to me last week, Governor, you can finish that degree. But, I mean, think about how many of us, I do have my bachelor's though, think about how many of us went to college and took some extra hours and just got busy working, having families, having kids. I mean, we could get those adults, even online, going back and finishing, Mr. President, their degrees, what that would do to our workforce in our state. So we launched a program called Complete College America. We're actually considered to be one of the leading states in the nation with this project to develop a way that we can encourage more of our adults to go back and finish degree completion, to also help our students stay in school and not drop out. And we're dealing with all the factors that cause children to, or students I should say, to drop out of school, remediation, those type of things. And of course, last year we had huge education reform. Senator Jolly was one of the major authors on our various education reform initiatives to make sure that our students are ready to learn, whether it's reading skills, whether it's grading our schools A through F, whether it's passing a law that allows us to let go of ineffective teachers that aren't performing at the standard they should in the classroom. We've done those things, and so we're working on the workforce issues. Another issue that I know is a major concern to our commerce departments and certainly to our chambers of commerce is transportation infrastructure. And I mentioned about the I-40 crosstown, which is exciting that finally that is becoming completed. But we all know that having quality infrastructure in our state, roads and bridges, is important to commerce, important to trade. It's important to the safety of our citizens and even congestion. And Lord knows we had some congestion last night in the downtown area. Those of you that are downtown, I was coming through that area last night. But putting more money towards, I see our commissioner over here, Ray Vaughn, towards our roads and our bridges in the state of Oklahoma. So we laid out a plan several months ago called the Oklahoma Road and Bridge Improvement Plan, in which I've asked the legislature to take money that is being diverted right now from the motor vehicle tax fund that's going into the general fund that was originally supposed to go to roads and bridges. I know that may be a strange concept, but it does happen at the Capitol. To move that money back into where it's supposed to be going, into our bridge building program. Right now, we're ranked as one of the top states in the nation in having structurally deficient bridges. In fact, we have over 706 bridges in our state that are structurally deficient. They're safe, but just structurally deficient. They're old. I mean, we built a lot of bridges. We have a lot of rural area in our state. And so we have a plan through the Department of Transportation to actually eliminate all 700 plus bridges in the next 8-year transportation plan, which is what our transportation budget is, and to work with our counties to be able to help them with their county bridges, our state bridges certainly. And then also part of that plan is to ease congestion on the Kilpatrick and the Creek turnpikes in our major cities, because that's important too, that you don't need traffic congestion in your major cities. And so I've asked the legislature to work with me on some funding issues that will help redirect some of that funding and help us eliminate and get on a path to where we have some of the best bridges in the nation, which if we do this, we will. We'll be ranked in the top areas in that. Energy, as I mentioned a couple of times, is certainly critical and is helping lead Oklahoma to more prosperous times. We're grateful for that. My energy secretary has worked very hard, Mike Ming, on a comprehensive first ever statewide energy plan for Oklahoma, in which we introduced last summer also, because energy has played such a strong role in helping grow Oklahoma's economy. We're all benefiting from that. But we are very blessed in our state to have an abundance of energy, and that trickles on down through all the different businesses that they spend money with. But in our comprehensive energy plan, we have laid forth some exciting new concepts. In fact, it's been a lot of fun in that we're talking about our natural gas industry. We certainly appreciate oil and we appreciate wind. I was in Woodward, Oklahoma yesterday, dedicating a big Siemens distribution center for the wind industry. I support that. I support all forms of energy as long as it creates jobs and American energy. But natural gas is something that's very abundant in Oklahoma. And so we laid forth a plan and actually were able to sign up 10 states following Oklahoma's lead, working with Governor Hickenlooper of Colorado, who's a Democrat, by the way. Democrats and Republicans can work together to tell the U.S. automakers that our state and these 10 other states, including ours, will look at transforming our state fleet vehicles. Now, the state has a lot of vehicles that we use, into natural gas vehicles. Now, on the concept that will create market demand for natural gas, which hopefully will help us with the prices of natural gas, help also create with the infrastructure that we need to be built up so that people can fuel natural gas vehicles. And there are a lot of other companies, entities already in Oklahoma using natural gas. It's already there, but we would build upon that by all of our states going together. And I know that may sound like, gosh, that's kind of a far-out issue, but I can't tell you how many interviews I've done over the last several months by national press saying Oklahoma is helping lead the nation and states are finding solutions to our energy dilemma in America, that we're sending all this money over to foreign countries buying foreign oil. providing foreign jobs, sending our revenue over there, when we could be generating revenue back into our economy, creating jobs back here, and of course using American-made products. And so it's been exciting to see the various write-ups that we've been getting on that plan. And along with that plan, we're also laying forth a big plan to look at energy efficiency and how we can conserve energy in Oklahoma and state government, which every time we make government more efficient, we eliminate waste, we're saving money, which can go back to education, go back to roads and bridges, law enforcement, whatever the topic might be. So there's a lot of big issues on our plate, and I could go into a lot of other things dealing with Department of Human Services reform, with our children in our state, to water issues, as Carl and I were just talking about. But all in all, I think we've got the momentum going into Oklahoma. If we continue down the right path and focusing on our jobs, focusing on the business climate, focusing on the workforce itself, certainly our infrastructure, our key industries, aerospace. I didn't even go into all that, but aerospace certainly is very, very important to Oklahoma, that we're going to keep Oklahoma going on the right track. But it's all because of your effort also. I can't do it alone. I need your help, and I certainly appreciate all of our elected officials that have worked so hard with us to help us get this agenda done. Thank you, Carl, and congratulations on your leadership, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come and visit with you.